Chang Jian, spending the night at Wang Changling's Hermitage. The clear creek seems almost endless. Far off, above your place, a single cloud. Now a faint moon appears among the pines, as if to shed its light on your behalf. Flowers cast their moving shadows on your little pavilion, above the moss growing in your courtyard, full of herbs. I too would like to say farewell to life's entanglements, and fly as one with phoenix and crane on West Mountain. So we have here the first and I think only poem in this collection of Chang Jian. I'm not sure about that, I'll have to check it later. Chang Jian, not a particularly famous poet today, but I believe in his own time he was ranked as high as Wang or Meng Haoran. In fact, he was a friend of some of these. What do we know about Chang Jian? He was a poet from the capital, from Chang'an. He passed the examinations the same year as the person to whom he dedicates this poem and who was probably a friend, the poet Wang Changling, of whom we've read a poem a few days ago, if you'll remember. And he held minor positions in the bureaucratic administration, became frustrated and quit the job of scholar official and retired to enjoy his own private pleasures. Now, what's this poem about? The topic of this poem is a topic we've already encountered, which is spending the night with a hermit. More generally, it is connected to the retired life, the desire for living the retired life, playing at living the retired life of the hermit, if only for a night. And tangentially, it also connects with all the convivial and Bacchic poems of enjoying the company of a friend, of a scholar official. Let's take a look at the poem in a greater detail. So the first couplet introduces the poem, and it locates us in media res, we would say. We don't get an introduction of the sort, I have decided to go and visit my friend, I am climbing the mountain. No, we're directly in the middle of the scene. The clear creek seems almost endless. Far off, above your place, a single cloud. So Chang Jian is in the mountain, or wherever Wang Changling's hermitage is located, probably in a high place. And two images of extension, of long extension, are shown to our eyes. So the first one is a creek, a little river that seems to go on forever. That's a horizontal expansion. And then far off, above your place, above Wang Changling's hut, there is a single cloud, far off. So in this case we get also a very, very extended image, but now it's vertical. It's up in the sky, a single cloud. As we've mentioned in other videos, remember, clouds are an appropriate symbol, an often employed symbol for the hermit, for the solitary hermit. So we continue with more images. Now a faint moon appears among the pines, as if to shed its light on your behalf. So this is a very conventional image that we've talked about. It appears a lot in Chinese poems describing nights, the moon in the pines. It also appears in Japanese poetry. It becomes almost trite. So the moon makes its presence, because this is a night poem, remember, spending the night, and it illuminates. And this is a very Chinese conceit, the personification of the moon and of nature in the service of humankind. So the moon seems to be acting on its own as a lamp. It wants to shed its light to illuminate Wang Changling's hermitage and the nights that Chang Jian and Wang Changling are spending together. The moon becomes their own personal lamp. And flowers, next couplet, we get more description, although it becomes, the camera seems to be getting closer and closer, and now we get to just outside the hut. Flowers cast their moving shadows on your little pavilion, above the moss growing in your courtyard full of herbs. So now we get the immediate surroundings of the pavilion. And there are flowers that cast moving shadows, so there might be a little bit of wind. I'm a bit skeptic about flowers casting shadows under moonlight. I don't think that is really possible, but it's a nice image. And the shadows are dancing on top of the moss, growing in the courtyard full of herbs. So moss is always associated with abandoned gardens or with a hermit or a mountain residence. Finally, we get the couplet that concludes the poem. I too would like to say farewell to life's entanglements. So the poet, the visiting poet, who is probably at the time of writing these verses engaged in office, he would like to renounce the world. Again, we've encountered this in many poems before. The poet visits a hermit, and he is divided. He's a house divided between his Confucian urging to serve the state and we could say his cynical ambition to have power and glory, and his Taoist or Buddhist inclination towards living the good life, the retired life, beyond the dust of the world and its pointless pursuits and stresses. So we can believe that Chang Jian, even though the expression of this idea is quite conventional in English, we can take him for his word. As I told you from the biographical data I've read about him, he did retire early from positions of power. So here he's expressing the wish, I would like to retire. I would like to lead this retired life. And he concludes reaffirming this idea through some conventional Taoistic images. Fly as one with the phoenix and crane on West Mountain. Now, in Taoistic texts, it is conventional for the people who achieve immortality. In Taoist religion, this is a possibility through ascetic practices, dietary, sexual, breathing techniques, and the reading of sacred texts and magic formulas. Through all these different methods, it's possible to become a Xian, an ascended person. And you become of a more immaterial and crystalline-like body, and you can float away into the heavens, into the different paradises, and enjoy immortality there. In many of those legends and stories, a crane comes down, and the transcended rides the crane out into the sky. In many of those poems also, or stories, phoenix birds come and sing for the transcended person, and he might go flying away with the phoenixes. Fly as one with phoenix and crane on West Mountain. I imagine West Mountain is the place where Wang Changling's hermitage is located. It's not the first time it appears. In Chu Wei's poem, he was, that poet, that was 2 poems ago, Chu Wei was looking for a recluse on West Mountain. So I'm not pretty certain about where this West Mountain is. I will search for it. I imagine it's probably in the whereabouts or near the imperial capital, Chang'an, possibly. I know to the south of Chang'an there was a range of mountains, and many hermits lived in those mountains, or had temporal retreats there, especially the people who were also scholar officials. So that will be all for today. Short poem, and it includes beautiful images of nature and includes the desire to escape from the dust of the world. And that will be all for today.